I think it's cool that people just have whatever things get them off, right? In a happy, safe, healthy way. This movie is not happy, safe, or healthy. No. I think the weird thing is Cannibal Mukbang is such a great title, right? We were on the festival circuit with the movie Cannibal Comedian. There seems to be something about throwing cannibal and any other noun, verb, whatever after that. Greetings! Welcome back to the Messed Up Movies Podcast, New Movie Monday. I'm your host, Griffey, joined as always by friend, director, super producer, co-host Heath. Welcome back.
Boy, I'm hungry.
Oh my God, I'm scared. Thankfully, I've been playing hoops in my kitchen, so I'm nice and sweaty. Hopefully, I will not be on the menu. Guys, quick business before we get started. Please go to the Messed Up Movies Podcast Patreon page, the best way to support the show. New season of our Black Mirror miniseries, Tales from the Crypt miniseries, exclusive episodes, great community we're growing over there. That's the best way to help us out. That would mean the world to us. Subscribe to the Misfit Parade YouTube, see our short films, video versions of the pod, shorts, all that good stuff. We're on all the cool kids' social media like TikTok, Instagram, whatever else is cool. We're probably there. Find us there.
Because we're so cool.
We're so cool. We're so hip. As the kids say in the parlance of the day.
Yeah.
Also, if you could go to misfitparade.com, subscribe to our newsletter, The Parade Route there. Keep track of the making of our first movie, Mr. Cream Jeans Hidey Hole, as we continue this never-ending production. We are getting there, and it has been wild so far. So please help us out there. Guys, 5-star ratings and reviews are always helpful. What we're really asking our listeners to do, send a message, a TikTok, a short, a reel, whatever, a Spotify episode to a friend who loves movies. Let them know what we're doing here. We'll take it from there. All right. So we actually made a change. We did not go see The Woman in the Yard, as we had originally planned to do, right?
We might get there.
But a movie popped up that we were very interested in and wanted to talk about instead.
Yeah, this one's been on my radar for maybe about a year.
I've been hearing about this for a long time. I was hearing about it at the festival circuit. So we decided to replace The Woman in the Yard, mea culpa to the women in the yards, with Cannibal Mukbang. So, independent horror movie. Let me read you a synopsis here, just to get this out of the way. Blood, sex, food. Shy and looking for love, Mark quickly becomes smitten with the outgoing and mysterious Ash, who somehow, much to his surprise, reciprocates the attraction. That's rude. But as his feelings for her intensify, so does the unexpected submersion into Ash's biggest love, the wild world of mukbanging. My wife thought that was insane, by the way. And with it, lots of bloodshed. Delving into the fascinating subculture while never losing focus on her characters, first-timer Aimee Kuge delivers a raucous and bold horror comedy seeped in romance and gore. So let's start here. Mukbanging is essentially watching women eat tons of food online.
Yeah. It's like in that weird wheelhouse of ASMR, but...
Yes.
Like, what's this whole...
But also gluttony.
Yeah.
There's a penetrative act to eating, I guess. It's kind of a weird...
It's a sensory
sexual
kind of,
subculture. Not weird. That's not fair. If that's your thing, have at yourself, right? Whatever floats your boat.
It's surprisingly popular.
It is surprising. I think this was the great thing about the internet porn age, is I do think it demystified a lot of kinks, and people all of a sudden weren't like outsiders and weirdos. It's just like, hey, people have all kinds of ways they like to do stuff.
Well, and
that's
it's
fine.
Not necessarily sexual.
I think it's inherently sexual.
Well, my girlfriend claims that hers is not sexual. It is.
She watches mukbanging?
She watches people getting massages. That's her thing. So that it puts her to sleep, she says.
I'm looking through YouTube at your partner that doesn't watch the show, so we're fine. No, I also have an ASMR of ladies massaging each other.
ASMR, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's called. But there's a visual component to it. Again, I think it's cool that people just have whatever things get them off, right? In a happy, safe, healthy way. This movie is not happy, safe, or healthy. No. I think the weird thing is Cannibal Mukbang is such a great title, right? We were on the festival circuit with the movie Cannibal Comedian. There seems to be something about throwing cannibal and any other noun, verb, whatever after that. Seems to work for people.
We were in a fest or two with this movie, believe it or not.
Did we really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I got to stop drinking so much and watching massage videos.
But yeah, for some reason, never got around to seeing it until it was just released a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and so I think this is the thing with the movie, I'll say. I found this movie really engaging. I thought it was so well made, right? It's kind of that that beautiful spot in low budget horror filmmaking where they so overachieve what you feel would be budgetary limitations, right? I think the movie has just an insane grasp of the style that they were trying to achieve. I really liked this kind of world. It feels like this mumblecore movie with just this kind of bloody addendum to it. Like, it feels like a movie that was written, and not in a bad way. And then they said, but we need some genre so someone will watch this rom-com movie. And then they just layered on this bizarre subculture of mukbanging and cannibalism, because I was kind of surprised how little the mukbanging has anything to do with the movie. It's kind of how they meet. It is
a door.
And it's like the meet cute. He's like, I love mukbanging and think what you guys do is amazing. She's like, oh my God, thank you. That's incredible. Thank you for seeing me. After she runs him over with her car. And then...
Which do you think was intentional?
Kind of 100% intentional.
Had to be.
I think there was a chance he was about to be a victim.
Oh, yeah.
And then she's like, oh, he's a nice guy. It's fine. We're not going to do that.
Well, it had a bit of that element to, this may be jumping ahead in a way, but I was reminded of Let the Right One In. That dynamic.
Spoilers before we say that, yeah.
Because you're wondering the whole time what, and he's wondering too. He's sort of hip to her potential malevolent intentions.
Yes.
Is he being just kind of fattened up for the kill? Or is he just simply being used as, like in Let the Right One In, a tool for her to track down and hunt these other victims? And or is she really genuinely in love with him?
Yeah, I think there's this kind of, because he's one of these guys that's very quiet, reserved. He doesn't want to push it too fast. And she seems much more into him, right? Which is something that you don't experience a lot as a man, I feel like.
But manically. I thought it did a great job of, where is she at?
I'll tell you a story that illustrates this for me. We were in Vegas once, me and a friend who you know very well. We won't out his name. And we're sitting there, and this hot girl keeps talking to him at the bar. She's hitting him up, and I'm like, damn, look at him over there, going for it. And I walked over, and he like had shoot her off, right? I was like, what the hell's he doing? I went over there. I was like, what's going on? He's like, she's a pro. And I was like, how do you know she's a pro? And he's like, she was hitting on me.
Oh.
And because a woman stopped and hit on him, he's like, his red flag went up. He's like, something's off here.
Look, it's legitimate. I mean, you have to keep your head on a swivel from being a mark. That's how
the dating world is hard.
That's how a mark becomes a mark, is they just assume that, they have the riz.
Yeah, as my son has taught us, the riz. But yeah, I thought there was something very sweet and cute about it. The title being Cannibal Mukbang, we assume immediately she's up to no good, right? She gives him these tacos. He's like, these are so fucking good. I can't get enough tacos. And then he goes to his job as like a customer service guy and starts throwing up, right? So from the first day, she had fed him human flesh, right? Which feels like this invitation. Again, is that a trap? Is that nefarious, right? Like, I had friends that went to a dinner party once. They're all eating, and then after they ate this giant meal, the lady's like, thank you for coming to our placenta dinner. And they're all like, what the hell are you talking about? She had baked her placenta into this like thing they all ate and didn't tell them until it was done.
God.
And people were getting fucking fuming mad and livid. And I was like, yeah, I think I'd be pretty fucking pissed.
Too.
Like, that's insane. That's so insane. That's kind of cannibalism, right?
Yeah.
Like, just kind of like bougie cannibalism. So again, I don't know. I'm with you. I don't know that I read Ash is nefarious in that moment. There is something duplicitous about serving someone human food.
I think that's the brilliance of it. The brilliance of it is that we're not supposed to know whether it's nefarious or not.
And again, she plays it so sweet. I think there's a part of this character, Ash, that's so desperately looking for that connection she lost with that sister, as we learned through the story. And it feels almost like this, I will push him as hard and fast as I can just to like get through it, right? Is this going to be the guy or not? I think there's a fear of vulnerability with that character, right? Because she's essentially a predator, right? Eating all these fucking nefarious men. So I think it's just as she pushes too hard, too fast. I actually don't think it's a nefarious trap.
Well, it does a lot of playing with genre expectations because when she first enters the film, she's basically the manic pixie dream girl. Yeah. We've seen this setup.
I also like Funyuns, but I'm in shape and thin, and it's like, sure. Guys who eat like that look like this. Right?
Yeah. And I love that device in the context of horror or suspense. And is this girl too good to be true?
Yeah.
And you know, guys like that, the mumblecore guys, the beta male.
Yeah.
Not to be rude, but I would say
It's a good catch-all phrase, yeah.
well, when you're looking at the contrast and the dynamics between the two brothers, the asshole brother is the stereotypical alpha male, and he's the beta male. Just to put labels on things, but he's sensitive, right, and looking for a genuine connection, and that is a classic setup for I don't know what early 2000s manic pixie dream girl when that that was coined, and they play on that and set that up early. So you're kind of like, well, this can't be all to it. So where does it go? Of course, the title.
And it has that whore expectation.
Yeah.
So there's kind of this delayed gratification. He has these odd, like, Roman bathhouse fantasies about her.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's April Consalo's the girl that plays Ash.
Yeah.
She's so goddamn captivating in this movie. Like, I thought she was kind of the rock I needed throughout the movie. Because our main guy, I feel bad, I never remember actors' names. Nate Wise's character is so subdued and sedated. He's one of those characters who, even though he's our protagonist, he always is reacting to things, right? It doesn't feel like he's ever making choices in the movie, which is kind of tough for a main character.
True.
But she fills that void so easily in the movie, right? That I thought their balance was really good.
I thought so too.
Right? Like the scene when they're in the kind of, tent together, right? So he was on a date with another girl. And then he's like, actually, I got to go. I think I've got this girl that really means something to me. I don't want to be rude and waste your time. The girl's like, thanks, dick. I guess that's cool. And he goes and they just sit in the tent. And Ash is like getting after it, trying to fucking jerk him off. And he's like, whoa, let's just be cool. And then we have that montage scene that my wife's like, that's sweet. Remember when we did stuff like that? And I was like, no, I don't remember that. I was so long ago in our relationship. But again, there's this sweetness to it that keeps putting off because you think we're about to get into sex or someone's accidentally going to get bitten. One of these like horror moments.
Yeah.
And we just kind of delay the gratification, right?
Well,
until we go to the vegan restaurant and she looks all fucking Billy Corgan.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm hungry. And you're like, uh-oh, here we fucking go.
It was funny to me when I think it was probably 3/4 of the way into the movie when she's like, are you going to fuck me or what?
Yeah.
I was like, wait, they haven't fucked yet?
Yeah. It's a tough one. We're actually watching Love on the Spectrum, right? And there's this girl, Danny, who's obsessed with animation. And that's all she ever talks about. And it's really tough because you're like, God, you've been this close a couple times, but you can't get over the animation thing. And then she met this guy, Anon, who does voices, and he loves animation. They had their 1-year anniversary dinner. She hand drew a cartoon that's like, it's been 1 year and it's sweet. And he's like, oh, I love this. This is great. And then at the end, it shows the two cartoons jumping in bed and fucking. And she goes, it's been a year. Is it time? And I was like, damn, she's after it.
Well, a year is a long time.
I don't know how long this story takes place for.
Yeah.
I don't get a good sense of time in this movie.
I think 2 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, a month. I don't know. Because there's like this thing where the brother's like, you haven't been calling me back.
Yeah.
She hunts a couple predators. So I'm assuming there's a little run here. But it feels like one of those like a week in the movie, right? It goes really fucking fast. But so essentially they go to this vegan restaurant and like the dream girl fantasy is sliding, right? She's mean, she's short, she's curt. And he's being cool with it, right? He's like, hey, are you okay? Do you want to leave? And she's like, I just want to eat. And all of a sudden this fucking doofus walks in, right? He looks like he's like a fan of The Offspring, right? Dressed like that. He walks in and she's like, you got to go. So he goes to the park. He's getting drunk in the rain, whatever. She comes out, and this is where it really starts. This feels like it's like 30-some minutes into the movie, right? Where this guy starts like whooping on her. And he's like, I'll do whatever I want, blah, blah, blah. And she essentially does the Rorschach line. You're trapped in here with me.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you this. What did you make of the addition of just superpowers? Like, she just takes that guy's arm and cracks it in half. And I was like, that
did feel out of
an
place.
insane amount of power. Because I was like, wait a sec, is this like a vampire thing?
Yeah, it felt somewhat supernatural. And then we never really go back to that either. So,
well, there's kind of this hint that he's talking about this like drug-like effect.
Yeah.
Of when he's eating people and then they have like a separation. He can't eat. He's like, drawn out.
You hear those stories about mothers, for instance, on adrenaline that can lift cars, things like that. I don't know. Maybe this is being generous, but I thought that was odd stylistically. I'm okay with it.
It felt like they were adding a supernatural flair to it.
But they never picked that back up.
Yeah. Well, because later we see the origins of this cannibalism, right? So there's this hint of a girl who's missing, right?
Love that sequence, by the way.
Yeah, he Googles it was her sister, and she's like, don't fucking Google me, it really hurts. She talks about how these fucking hillbillies essentially captured them and kept them in like a fucking animal pen, right? And they took her sister. Brutal. We heard later that they found the body all mangled and shit. So whatever they did to the sister, they're coming in, and he's like eating what we think is the sister, right? And he's like, nom, nom, nom. He's just mowing on it. She gets out and takes on this fucking gargantuan man.
Yeah.
Right? Like this huge fucking man, and starts the like flesh eating, right? So I think there's a sense of, it's more of an empowerment motif of these men who do really bad things and taking their power and using it against other predators. But that scene really caught me off guard with the arm break. I was like, that's a level of like world's strongest man power. Then I was like, wait, what is this fucking movie? And then it does settle back in.
It was cool though.
It was fucking cool. And again, I think it's one of those, you were probably writing a really fine line, right? As a director, how long can I push off the horror, right? Because I'm doing this nice romantic buildup. We are really spending time and sinking in with these two in a way that a lot of horror movies don't allow for, right? Most horror movies, I think, would make the wrong mathematic calculation, get to the cannibal really fast, and drop in some of that stuff when you can. Sure. I thought it was a really nice moment to let it build, right? We meet the brother a little bit.
All that stuff is interesting still. I mean, it's a testament to the writing, to the acting.
They did a really good job.
Yeah, that you can take your time, build into that. And then when we're there, we care about this relationship when the horror stuff happens. So that propels us through the end of the movie. I mean, this is a great, almost perfect example of a simple concept, extremely well executed.
Yeah.
And most of the time, that's all you need.
Yeah.
It took me right back to late 90s, early 2000s movies. I'm put in the mind of like, May from Lucky McGee.
Yes.
It really felt like one of those.
Very May.
Aesthetically, just the way the story unfolds, the simplicity of it, but you're still not quite sure you have your footing.
Yeah.
Just fucking A+, man. I loved it.
I think the best low-budget horror movies, the hardest thing to capture when you don't have enough money for, let's say, locations or set design and this and that, there's an inherent thinness to it that doesn't make it feel like a world where people live. Or the characters are just there to do the joke, show the tits, get murdered, right? There's a thinness to that where it doesn't feel like a lived-in world, and we never really think the characters are real. I think this movie spends the time to really, even though Mark was sometimes trying for me, because I was like, fucking do something, make a choice, do something. But again, we see in the finale, they're really saving that and letting him like get to the crescendo where he makes choices, right? But it was tough at the start, right? And she's kind of doing this fantasy thing. And I was like, where's the fucking movie that I thought I was watching? And that arm break is like this fucking beautiful explosion in the middle of the movie. And we're sitting in this park soaked in rain, just like, oh shit, everything has changed. But it gave us this beautiful foundation that then you're like, okay, now they're going to slop everything on us. And we're going to get it. They go on this like Bonnie and Clyde style adventure because she's just like, are you going to help me bury this dead body? And he's like, okay. And you're like, all right, well, now this is a different movie. This has dramatically changed what I thought I was watching.
I think a real testament to that buildup and establishing the relationship is, I know you do this too. It's your barometer is sometimes your partner because we have way different tastes. And Lindsay had no idea what I had put on, what I was watching. She pretty much just assumes it's something she's not going to watch if I don't, or that she's not going to like if I don't ask her to watch it, and that it's a horror film. And so she kind of wanders over at some point, gets interested. She's like, "What is this?" She sits down and she's glued, locked in. Once the horror stuff actually started to happen, I think she began to check out. But I mean, it did such a great job of, again, bringing you into this story, and then when the horror elements kick in, then it really was ramping up and working for me.
Yeah, because we get these murders. He's eating people. He's blowing his brother off. We have this sex scene, and there's this weird. Again, it's like Mark was really trying for me because they have sex, and she's like, "I love you," and they both bust. And then he's like zipping his pants. He was like, "Do you?" And I was like, "Dude, chill the fuck out. Like, you have no post-coital like glow. Like, just be happy. How long has it been, brother? Like, relax." And he's just like, "Man, you don't really love me." And she's like, "Well, yeah, you know, I say some wild shit when I'm getting clapped."
But
and that fucking drove me insane.
Yeah, but I think that speaks to his suspicion of her intentions.
Well, yes,
has been building up to that
He's one
point.
of these guys that definitely exists. Like, I know people like this where it's, you are so trained to imagine that people can't find you suitable because you don't find yourself suitable.
Because he has a plate in his head.
Right, well, because he just feels like he has nothing to offer, right? He's got a plate in his head, which is kind of a weird, like, thrown in thing that comes and goes, right? Like, we see it later. We see the actual thing. It's like Pete and Pete's mom, right? In that show. And then his brother's a dick to him all the time. His brother's running around banging all these people. He's got the hot wife, right? He's always talking about sex and how his brother's not having it. And so he's like, "Oh, is that what a guy is supposed to be? I'm not that. I work at customer service and people just fucking bitch at me all day about stupid shit." He doesn't see any value in himself. So how could this girl that he puts way up here reach down for him, right? That you don't want someone to have to settle on you. Even though I think every guy I know who's in a successful relationship is like, "Yeah, my partner's way better than me."
Right.
And that's fucking incredible, right? That's a great way to live life. And so I think Mark is really well written. But it is, you like want to scream at him in the movie. And again, I think that's effective, right? You don't have to love every character you're spending time with. They just have to feel like they're making real choices.
And they do. And I think he is sweet enough that you can go along the ride with him.
Yeah.
And it just depends, too, on how much you relate to that kind of person.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be a little bit of like okay, this guy's just a cuck, and I don't have any respect. I'm losing respect.
We're throwing out so many internet catchwords today.
But, that's not going to work for a certain kind of male audience. But, again, his rendering was very honest.
Yeah, and again, I think that's the thing, is that Ash is so dominant in the story. And that performance is so engaging.
She was great,
but
right?
But there is a hard thing. I told you this when we were doing Sugar Tits, right? Like, when Marley came in as my scene partner, you're like, holy shit. Like, she's a jet engine up here. You're like, I have to figure out how to fit in rather than trying to match that and, like, box the scene out. And I do think that whispery tone really lets her kind of righteous rage boil. And it's one of those that he's so not making choices that it starts rubbing her the wrong way, where it's like, what do you fucking stand for?
Right.
And Mark has to sit and grapple with that,
and
right?
I think she just assumes that she can boss him around because that's what he wants.
Dude, that's what we all want, honestly. That's what I want. And yeah, I think it sets up this really interesting kind of journey, right? And I think it's probably good for the movie that the horror is really backseated to this most of the time. Because again, I think most movies that put cannibal in the title go the other way.
Well, think of a movie like, again, this was really getting my antenna up for those early 2000s movies. Like American Psycho is a good example of this. There's not a lot of actual horror in that
you
film.
get the chainsaw scene, you get the Huey Lewis axe murder. You get the homeless guy, like there's like 3 to 5 moments, and the rest of it's the horror of high society.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like the horror of like business cards and shit.
Right. And
which is really captivating.
And how is the character moving through this world?
Yeah.
And I think that this movie does that as well. We have really good gory scenes, I feel like. And it's a sexy movie too.
I actually was not prepared for it to get sexy. But like it did find that, like, again, I think that's the credit to the writing and the performances, is it felt like we were peeping in on a real relationship, right? Which, again, I think there's a lot of movies where it's like, you just have really hot people that look like they'd be an extra on a CW show banging. And you're like, all right, of course, hot people gonna hot people, right? I get it. This felt like we were really watching like the development of this dangerous relationship. Yeah. I found that really captivating too, because I was honestly kind of surprised that they threw the sex scene in there, right? Like when that happened, I was like, oh shit, we're doing like an actual sex scene with nudity and this and that. And again, I think it's like the lamest argument we had as a horror community over the pandemic was there's no reason for sex in movies, right? It's just exploitative and gross. And I think that's such fucking horseshit. I think there are movies that definitely you can point to exploitative use of sex, right? And it's not good for the actors and whatever. In this movie, this is a movie about the emptiness inside and the consumption of things from outside to try to fill that void. That's what sex is, right? Is you eventually are like, I'm going to hump something long enough to where I feel something, or I'll find another person that will fill that void in me. And that is told through cannibalism, is told through sex, right? And I thought, I was actually surprised how much I thought the sex scene in this was hyper effective to me. It wasn't just titillating.
Yeah.
It had this really beautiful story moment to me.
And I think there's probably something to that you have a female writer and director that is looking at this, because women do value sex in different ways than men do.
I think it's something good that as a society we're getting more open about sex and talking about sex. It's not this like, we're still kind of afraid of it. Americans are still very weird about sex, but I think we're starting to have more honest conversations about it. And so I think when you get movies like this that talk about it in really intelligent ways, audiences are ready for that.
Yeah.
Like we're ready for that beyond like a Friday the 13th sex scene, right? Which those are great too, man. That's good fun too.
It's just a different type of audience that's raring to go for that. And I'm both of those audiences. You know, just depends on the context.
I'm just, give me all of it. I'll sort it out, right?
Yeah.
Like Killer Mike said, even if we get some good ones, fuck it, the Lord will sort it. You know what I mean? We'll do that. And so, yeah, I thought it was a beautiful kind of hinge moment. I do want to talk about the ending of this movie. I have to say, for how much I was enjoying the ride, I found the end of this movie very unsatisfying for me.
Okay.
So essentially, for those of you who watched it, to set some context, right? He goes back to her, right? He's like, I'm so sorry. Like, you know, I worry about this and that. I have these struggles. She's like, I get it, man. I want us to be a thing. I want us to be a unit. I want to know that you'll go all the way with me, right? He's like, cool, I'm in. They set up another sting operation. She's like, I got a guy tonight. He hides in the closet. And of course, who walks in but the brother?
Right.
I told you, I called this so early in the movie.
Yes.
I kind of knew this was coming.
I saw it coming too, but I don't think, for me, that didn't devalue the effect of it.
Here's the problem, right? The brother coming over is the guy who's like not treating his partner well. We see she walks in her like swimsuit and he's like, oh, it's date night. You know, fuck that. I'll get to it when I get to it. And you're like, all right, the guy who doesn't value his partner, right? Classic kind of guy. He only values himself through pussy conquering. Like, I understand this character. I knew he was going to be the one that was put to the chance, right? Because there's this great, like, he's saving his brother. It's the only person he has left. Now he has a new person. You're like, okay, I see this coming to a head. I knew really early because I was like, why are we spending so much time with the brother who's not doing anything in the story? I was like, oh, because this is going to be the thing. I think there's a real problem at the end of this movie with the writing. So not only is this guy just coming out to just bang other women, right? Which, you know, that's adultery. That's not a punishable by death kind of thing. People do it all the time. It's not great for your partner, but this and that. They add such shocking fucking details. So not only is this guy just a fucking cheater, he has killed and maimed multiple girls who are 13 or younger. They accuse him of killing all these girls, raping all these girls. At one point, she accuses him of being a fucking necrophiliac who digs up bodies to have sex with, right?
Yeah.
He has a wife and kids at home. So the brother is looking at his brother, who he thinks is a good guy. He has a sister-in-law. He has nieces and nephews that he has in his life. And he's like, my brother is killing and raping children and digging up dead bodies to do crimes with. I think that
there's no empirical evidence for that. It's only.
I think it's the fact that he's there and starts immediately beating the shit out of and trying to sexually assault Ash.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of pushback, I think, as an audience member that makes us think this is probably not real. Also, the character's been nothing but a cock the whole movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was hard to accept that in that moment, Mark has such little emotional grappling other than I will protect my brother because he's my brother.
Yeah, but
I love my brother dearly. If I found out my brother was raping and murdering teenagers, I would be like, you know what? At minimum, I'm going to beat your ass tie you up and let the cops sort it out.
But
you're not letting him run away.
No. If you look at it from the character's perspective, first of all, we've already established that this guy can't make a decision for himself. He's sort of passive.
But he makes a decision in this moment.
He does, but everything's so heightened, he has to make some decision. I mean, he has just found out. There's so much this character has to process. He's reconnected with this woman that he has been suspicious of and trying to let that go so that their relationship can flourish. By the way, they are in cahoots of setting up and killing bad, quote unquote, bad people in a Dexter way. And then for one of these people to end up being his brother, I think the immediate reaction would be, no, there has to be some sort of mistake. This is my brother. This can't be a bad guy.
I get that. You don't fucking club your girlfriend in the head twice and let him go. You got to fucking beat your brother up and abduct him. You got to fucking apprehend his ass.
The reason he hit
to
her,
the bottom of it.
The reason he did that, though, was because she was just about to plunge the knife into the brother.
I got that, dude. But you got to, you could bear hug her and be like, we got to talk. I'm with you. Let's get some zip ties out. Tie this guy up. You cannot let your brother go without having a discussion about, okay, I know we've done a lot of Thanksgivings together. There's some wild accusations on the table here. You need to have that Jerry Springer moment at the end where you set him in a chair and you fucking question him. I thought that was for him to finally make a choice and for it to be such a fucking horrendously bad choice. And then the punctuation of he tries to save his brother by hitting his girlfriend, who we have set up is a Dexter-like killing rapist and bad guys. His brother, who we haven't liked for a second of the movie, is apparently one of these guys. He hits his girlfriend and lets his brother go. And then in her rage, she fucking stabs and kills the quiet, nice guy we've spent the whole movie following. Mm-hmm. And again, it's kind of this beautiful relationship build-up thing, right?
Yeah.
That you are rooting for Mark. And to just have it end in such this fucking messy, chaotic way.
I love it.
I felt so fucking unsatisfied.
Loved it. The praying mantis is going to bite off the head of her partner eventually.
She should have bit off the head of the goddamn necrophiliac. That's what
she tried.
But I know. And I don't want Mark to die because he's a fucking coward in this moment.
He's conflicted. That's
all
it is.
I think we were owed as an audience to see this come to fruition.
It did. I thought it all came together great.
That guy runs away.
Yeah.
He's out in the world again.
Right.
How's she going to get him again?
She's not. I mean, this could all...
So there's just more dead bodies and teenage girls that are going to get piled up?
That's the world, brother.
Oh, my... I get it. This is not the real world. There's not cannibal mukbanging going on. I mean, maybe Red Room's told me this is probably true somewhere. I was so fucking mad at the end of this.
Why are you making all these people are doing the wrong thing? They're all killers.
I understand. You can't tell me that at the end of the movie, the only quasi-decent person, who is an accessory to many murders, but a people that society probably won't miss, is choosing the worst of the two monsters to let go. That really, and I know it's his brother.
Yeah.
I have two brothers, right? I know as much as I love them, I'm fucking whipping their ass. And we're having a talk. I'm not letting him run back to my niece and nephew who might now be on the menu.
But he's so caught in the middle between two very aggressive forces.
I understand.
It's asking a lot of a guy.
This is the problem with having a character who doesn't make a choice until he makes the worst choice in the movie that's so fucking off-putting to me that it really fucking bothered me. I wanted Mark to have a moment where he stood for something. And at the end, what you're telling me, he stands for horrific fucking sexual crimes. And that's it? And then he gets fucking killed?
All he wanted was to truly fall in love. And that's that line. He says it at the end as he's dying. I love you. And then she realizes...
I get it. And her crying feels a little crocodile tears to me. That I didn't accept the reality of that moment. For a movie that was so good about that did fucking drive me nuts at the end of the movie.
I think it's way more complex.
No, again, they set up this very messy kind of world, right? Where apparently there's just fucking sex crime everywhere in this small town. Which, again, might be, sadly, more close to the truth than not, right? We hear stories every day of these horrific crimes. I thought the fact that Mark just essentially becomes a fucking rube who's making the world worse and then dies for that it felt unsatisfying to me, because the journey for me was watching Mark try to find love, try to find himself, and then at the end it's just this fucking hard crashing into a wall where nothing happens and his story is over.
Yeah, but the guy already made the wrong decision of going along with this cannibal's entire
right.
plot.
You're right. And again,
I mean, he's a tragic
it's the
character.
problem with every movie, right? Ending a movie is the hardest thing to do. And this ending did not in any way negate from the rest of the ride to me. But it felt like one of those, we're doing a certain kind of movie and now we want the big whore ending. And just things got a little sloppier than I was expecting.
I love the ending of this movie.
I thought they were
really
going to
worked for
land
me.
the plane a lot better than they did for me, personally.
I thought it was satisfying for the main thrust of the whole film, which is how does this relationship resolve? We knew it couldn't be tidy. You know, it was not going to be anything other than a tragedy.
I agree. You know it's going to end tragically. I think they aimed at the wrong tragedy. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
I think there's a way to do this. Because to me, the way you end that movie is Mark killing his brother, who represents all of these worst traits of toxic masculinity that have now run amok and made him a monster who eats and victimizes all of these women around him. Right? Women that are in his own family now, that he has to have relationships, right? The sister, the nephews and nieces, whatever. There has to be a moment where he chooses which side he's on.
You don't think
in the
Ash-
movie choosing that he's on the side of what we hear his brother do, even if we're to assume that he just can't accept it, him letting him go was fucking insane.
I don't think it's
And
as
again,
simple
I
as...
think what he's doing is he's choosing Ash, because why would you not choose the person who's fighting evil, right? You're choosing between two evils. The lesser evil's the choice.
Yeah, and someone that he loves.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying that it has to be finite. Like, he immediately has to believe his brother would do these things. You're not letting him fucking run into the night. You're not, like, you're bashing your girlfriend. You don't go, run, brother. You fucking beat his ass too.
Look,
you got the club. Start mashing everyone.
I see where you're coming from on this. To me, it's not invalid, but it is a nitpick. I think it's a
I don't
nitpick.
think, again, I think it's the movie made a decision to tell us a very human tale, right? With some of the kind of frosting, right? This is a cinnamon roll, right? The cinnamon roll is all of the romance, the love, the finding yourself through other people, right? Consumption. That's what this movie's giving me. That's what I'm there for. The horror stuff is just flavor. It's just flavor. And at the end, it felt like they flipped that equation completely to be like, he's a horrifying monster. Listen to the crimes he did. And it's like, well, what fucking, what? Like Mark, I was like, where the fuck did this come from? Like, necrophilia is not a normal ass crime. Like, that's a wild fucking thing to just add in the movie. They found 5 girls by dumpsters, dismembered and assaulted. You're like, what? Like, that the level of crime they added in just for horror moviness, I thought all of a sudden it became this kind of absurd sketch for a bit. And that bothered me.
I see why the decision might have been made, though, because we're building up to this climax. We know we're getting toward the end of the movie.
It's going to be tragic.
We've killed these bad guys. Now, I need you to help me with the ultimate bad guy. And of course, dramatically, that's going to end up being your brother.
Fucking help with the bad guy then. Slay the fucking dragon. If Gandalf goes on his whole journey and he's like, you know what? Sauron's pretty metal. And flips and kills the Brotherhood. You're like, what the fuck was this 3 movies for?
This is why I think... What's the character's name? Nate?
Mark, sorry.
Nate, maybe the actor's name? Anyway, the reason Mark had to die is because he's never been able to make a full decision for himself.
But I don't think that means...
And that's what happens here. He can't clearly make a decision.
He's a good man who is consumed by this journey. This bigger character who is a bad person, right? Ash is a bad person. She's doing bad people things. She's killing people outside of the rules of our society. She's not a good person.
And
Vigilantes are not good people.
He goes along with it.
He goes along with it, right? If he's going along with it and he's giving up his own dignity and his own power and he's giving up integrity and being a member of our society, that should be for fucking something, right? What is he doing on this thing? He's not even getting laid the whole movie. Why is he just killing these guys if he doesn't somewhat believe in the mission of Ash?
I don't
when
think
he's
he does
confronted
believe
with-
in the mission, though.
I think he does. You
doesn't.
don't go along and kill this many people and just be like, yeah, so that I can sit in a tent with someone.
Yes, that is why. He's selfish.
Come on.
He is intoxicated by this manic pixie dream girl.
I get that. The
love spell.
Right.
Is
And if
taking
every
him
time he comes home,
on
he
this
gets a
dark
fucking
journey.
treat like a good boy, that would make more fucking sense to me. But again, the fact that he's not there
But
just
he's
for
trying
sex.
to vet her the whole time.
Right. He's trying to push her back because he wants true love. That lets you know he does fully believe in her and what she stands for, right? He wants her to not just be a lay. He wants her to be his everything, right? That's the choice he makes when he goes back.
Yeah, but I think
And we
this
put
character,
that in the movie to the dramatic test.
Yeah, but I think he has blinders on to everything else that's going on around him. His tunnel vision is, who is this person for me in my love story? And it consumes all logic. So he's not letting in any of these other elements or what her greater mission is. It's about what she means to him.
He walks in on the woman he loves, that he's given everything up for. He sees that his brother fucking bashed her in the head with a fucking bottle and is about to fucking go to town on her, commit a sexual crime right in front of him.
Well, he doesn't exactly
and
see
nothing
that.
is sparked. She's fucking knocked out face down on the ground, and his brother is like crawling up on her.
He does see that, but he didn't see everything that led to it.
That's what he fucking sees.
Okay.
There has to be a moment where that character realizes this is not okay, and he can't let that fucking guy run into the night.
I think you are asking
Again, we've
character to process a lot in a very short amount of time. But anyway.
I want this character to fucking do anything in this movie. And he had the chance, and to me, it was a letdown.
Okay.
Neither here nor there. For the most part, a really fucking fantastic ride. That felt like they were all of a sudden I was in a different movie.
I want to ask you about the direction. Mm-hmm. You know, I fancy myself as a pseudo director, and I'm keen to certain choices that directors make. You're more of a writer. You're keying in on the story. I loved what this director did stylistically throughout. The little fantasy sequences.
Oh, yeah. Great fantasy sequence.
The flashback sequence. That whole... It's just every pitch perfect choice that was made in that kind of 8mm. We're going back to her origin story. It was like a bathhouse scene, right?
Yeah, like Roman bathhouses. Yeah,
where it's really calling up those 80s like risky business. So that it immediately reminded me of that. The movie that I thought of constantly while watching this was Heathers.
Yeah,
it's sort of
a
Heathers. Reverse Heathers.
Yeah,
maybe not as satirical, but it had that feel and that flavor, and it's just been so long since I've seen a movie do it this way.
Yeah,
and it didn't necessarily felt like a throwback; it just felt classic.
And I think that's kind of the hallmark of great direction, right? Because really, I think directing gets misconstrued a lot. What it is. Directing is really people come to you and you make choices.
Yeah.
And the movie is an amalgam of what choices you've made. Other people carry yours. Like a lot of people are like, great directors, it has great shots. You're like, well, they have a director of photography who does that, but they're influencing the decisions on the style, right? So to me, directing is this, who just makes the most good choices? This movie makes a ton of good choices. And Aimee wrote this too.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So again, this is a person who's fully locked into what this story is and the vision they want to get across. And I think every choice you see from good directors is reinforcing a vision. In this movie, unlike a lot of low budget movies I see, had such a crystal clear vision that also felt like something we don't get a lot of.
And perspective. I think great directors understand which character's perspective they're in and how the audience needs to feel in that moment, whether they are connecting with this character's perspective or they need to step back and look at the situation objectively. Really good directors can move between those two POVs seamlessly. And I think she did that perfectly. One decision, this is a very minor thing, but it reminded me of a lesson that I learned back when I was in college. So I did a short film that was about a mortician, and we see a body on the slab, right, as she's being prepped. And I remember I had to find a cut to just basically patch a seam. And I cut to a shot, and I don't even know now, this has been like 20 some years ago, why I even got this shot, but it was a shot of the body's feet. And I think the idea was to just sort of establish the coldness and the deadness of this person who was obviously a real person. We didn't have like, a whole lot of effects budget. Anyway, from a professor, I got the feedback was like, you're really close. It has a lot, but there are some elements of this where intention is missing. And he said, I didn't understand the intent of just cutting to that foot. Like, what's the story intention there? And he was absolutely right. And there's a shot in this film during the sex scene where we cut to a shot of her feet curling up in the moment. And you would think that's maybe a throwaway shot just for coverage. And it's not. It really tells you something about how her character is feeling in the moment and really connecting with this guy who we don't know if she...
And it looks like they're banging in like a morgue.
Like
they're on a metal slab table. Yeah.
And it does fun stuff like that.
That curling of the feet, while it mimics like a toe tag shot, it also is this like moment of aliveness, right? And there's something physically about not being able to hide the kind of life that is being infused in you in these moments of passion, right? And so, I think the movie is just fucking impeccably paced and laid out. It's shot beautifully. Do
you think this was shot on film? It looked like film to me.
I don't think so. To me, I thought it had digital on it.
Maybe.
Like, there's a lot of shots that I was like, this... to me, I think it's digital.
It would make.
I'm also
sense
not super camera savvy.
Well, it might have.
So
also
they might have found a way to trick.
It might have also just been a credit to the tone of it, where it felt like I was sinking back into.
Well, it's one of those too. You just appreciate when you make movies, like the lighting, the set decorate. Like, they just really made great fucking choices across the board, right? Like, I was so swept up in this movie. And again, the fact that at the end I was mad, I think that's a good thing too. That means I was really invested. Like, when a bad movie ends badly, you just go, well, yeah, I fucking knew that was coming. You know what I mean? I felt a level of buy-in with this that to me is just the hallmark of just great storytelling.
Agreed.
And I was so impressed with almost everything that was in this movie.
It was pretty pitch perfect for me. I mean, there might be just a couple minor imperfections.
And again, I say this all the time on the pod, and I think some people think it's an insult. I don't mean it that way at all. When you see someone with such a low budget that makes a movie that you're like, there's nothing in this movie that we couldn't put together right now. I have a house. We can do fake blood. We can get actors, right? It's not like when you watch Avatar, you're like, I can't even fucking process what it would be like to try to make that movie. We could make this movie. The difference is when you see someone so fucking talented who so exceeds budget and limitations, and with the tools and choices they make, the final product is just so exponentially better than movies that you would think a movie like this would be.
The thing that really depresses me about this, and this might just be cynicism, but this is a movie that I could see I would have easily pulled out of the bin or right off the same shelf as American Psycho, May, what was the other one? Like a Session 9. I'm just saying low budget films that were outside of the studio system, but were in that DVD era that got discovered and ended up becoming cult classics. Because
Session 9's another great example. Like, you don't see anything that whole fucking movie except for this really cool location and great fucking acting.
Right. Great actors. And at the time, some of those actors are very famous now. But at the time, no one really knew who they were.
Yeah.
Suicide Kings is kind of another one. Obviously, you have Walken and a stellar cast too. But the scale of it, is similar. And I feel like this movie fits right in with those films. And is it going to end up being revered and appreciated like those movies eventually? I hope so.
It's the problem with the kind of streaming era is that so many movies feel so disposable and cheap as an entertainment source, right? Like, there's so many movies now that I just scroll through thumbnails. I finally settle on something. I turn it on. Maybe my kid's fucking talking to me. Maybe I'm on my phone. There was something about going to a theater, obviously, but also about going to like a Blockbuster or Family Video or Video Time and being like, I'm going to get this DVD, that it felt more important to me.
Well, it's supply and demand.
Well, you have the artifact. You're like, I went out of my way. I went out of my home to get this. When I come home, I really want to do this thing.
Yeah.
And again, also, I was doing that in the era before smartphones were really like ruling our lives. So maybe this is kind of false equivalency nostalgia. Maybe had I had a phone back then, this wouldn't have been the case, but it felt like there was a ritual to that that mattered. And when you found that movie, and you're like, how does everyone I know not talk about this? You couldn't wait to tell them about it. Or I have this for the weekend. Come over the next day, and you'd invite your friends over to rewatch it.
Yeah.
So you could inflict this movie on them.
Well, it truly
there was something great about it.
A simpler time. Because there's only so much shelf space allocated for, someone's going to discover a movie out of the couple hundred that are in the physical location.
This is the benefit of streaming, is the most likely scenario is that a movie like this wouldn't have found the shelf space.
That's true.
Unless it was at a specialty store. So we are in this weird double edge, because it doesn't have any stars, celebrities.
Well, that's the thing. I think this movie could have, but you would have needed name actors.
And that's kind of the beautiful point that we're in now. More voices than ever.
It's a double-edged sword.
Can tell their stories, can find an audience. That audience is just going to be smaller, right? And again, I think the difference is a lot of the stuff on streaming, I think, comes and goes really fast. I do feel like this one has extra voice. And I do think there's going to be an audience that is so thirsty for this kind of a horror movie that we don't get a lot of, right?
Yeah.
Like, to me, I was hearkening back to things like, to me, this is kind of like a Shape of Water thing, right? Like this romantic kind of sweeping overture kind of horror movie. But this is way smaller,
in more mumblecore mode.
But again, it's this real fucking human love story that has these kind of tragic horror monster elements in it. But again, I think by the end of the film, the cannibalism is it's the first word in the title. I mean, 10% of the movie, like what I'll remember from this movie has nothing to do with mukbanging or cannibalism. It has to do with this journey. And I'll remember Ash forever, right? Like that character really hooked me in and brought me in, right? And, I think that's the Robert McKee story thing. Audiences will lose a lot of, structure and motivations and this and that. They remember like 3 things from your movie, a big theme, 1 or 2 great moments. And this movie has really high level 2 or 3 moments.
It does.
That I'll take with me.
And the other thing that I really love about it is relatable in terms of the world that it is presenting. Like, again, that's one of those great things that you don't realize you're missing until you see it again from that 90s independent era, like Swingers. That apartment that Jon Favreau has is the apartment we've all lived in.
Dude,
There's nothing on the
was
wall.
A bouncer in the bar where they filmed a lot of the movie. The Brown Derby.
Yeah, and
the Derby, and I was a bouncer there. Right. I would walk to clock in on those stairs where they came up all the time.
But there's something about that I think that we're missing now, where that relatability is missing because there's so much world building. Shit, a lot of it is just done on a volume stage. I mean, those are the big productions. But I think, you detach a little bit. And when you see a movie...
It's the horror genre thing. And a lot of people make horror genre to help sell a movie.
Yes.
But they get so caught into, now this has to be a horror movie. But in that 8-minute mark, you got to have a body, you got to have a scare. Right. This one doesn't.
But what's really scary to me is that it's a world that I know and that I could be living in.
Well, it's also one of those, if you met someone like Ash, would you have cashed it in at certain points of your life? I mean, like, well, she, kills and eats people, but hey, what am I doing?
Even if you think...
And you're like, yeah, there are women that you've met in your life. You're like, yeah, I would cash it in. Or women who've met men and you're like, I'd go on the ride. And to me, that's where the fear comes in, is when you are so obsessed with something that you start making choices that you never would make, that pull you out of the world, right? And you're in a whole new... Again, it's like Narnia, it's Wizard of Oz, right? This guy is leaving human reality and he's in a whole new place. And I think that's where the best horror stuff happens, is when normal human people, choice by choice, look around and like, where the fuck am I? Like, I'm in Transylvania now. What the fuck? I'm a vampire. Like, I'm Dracula. And that's what this movie is, but it never loses that connection to... It
never untethers...
the human story. Yeah.
Or untethers from the real world either.
Right, but that human core is the world. It's a world that's shrunken down to 2 people,
Right.
Right. But it's a whole world within, it's a whole lived in world with that relationship. Right. And I do think that, you know, and I'm probably guilty of this too, when I write a lot of horror stories, you feel it on the page where you're like, shit, I don't have anything going on. Are people going to be interested in me writing this scene that harkens back to a thing from my life that's emotionally powerful to me? But oh God, what if the monster's not there? What if this, when the audience switches off and goes back to Netflix? You know what I mean? And you feel that fear on the page. And I'm always so in love with movies where you can tell the writers and directors just aren't worried about that.
Yeah.
They're just
It's
worried
confidence.
about how do you, yeah, exactly. And so few of us have the confidence to push to those real places because we're doing a horror movie. And we're like, people aren't here for that. Like, they'll go watch Portrait of a Woman on Fire for that. They're here for the tits and bloods and whatever. And I love movies that just say, fuck it, I've got a story to tell. And I'm going to tell that story how it needs to be told. This is a brilliant example of
And
that.
to that point, I have a feeling it would be interesting to get the director, like on our Filmmaker Friday or something.
Oh my God, I would love
pick her
to talk
brain.
to her, yeah.
You know, what the intent actually was. Was it to make a horror film? Because I don't really see that as an intent. I think it was just a story that
Yeah.
happened to have horror elements.
It is weird because I think it was because the horror is so ancillary to it. You know what I mean? That I think it was like one of those just kind of smart choices that now I have a built-in audience that this movie probably wouldn't have otherwise.
Maybe.
But I do think, as I had a genre study class back when we were in school, and my professor was like, he hated the like genre drama. So he's like, what fucking good movie that's a comedy, horror, sci-fi doesn't have drama?
Right.
Which of
That's the
those
foundation of all
best movies
storytelling.
don't have comedy? Right? Like, those are two inherent reactions in every human moment we have is comedy and drama. That's in everything. And I think people who get really hung up on genre has to have these like ironclad things. That's not right. Genres are messy, man. They spill it. It's like a fucking getting a plate at a buffet, man. You want a little of this, a little of that. Oh, some green Jello. Oh, some fucking what? And you're like, it's not a meal. You just throw it together and it becomes whatever it is.
Yeah, another movie that is, I think you would put on a carousel next to this one is Bones and All. What's that?
Exactly. This is kind of a poor man's Bones and All. It's very similar. And again, that's just a movie that has every fucking resource in the book thrown at it. But it's the same tale, right? It's this tale of eating people. But it's not that. It's about two lonely fucking kids that are outside. They have no one, no place in the world,
And
but they find a world in themselves.
What is that? Is that horror? Is that Bonnie and Clyde? Is that Badlands?
There's fucking terrifying moments in that movie.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck Mark Rylance is doing in his tighty whities, that whole movie's fucking horrifying. And to this too, like, just I meet a girl who hits me with her car and she's feeding me human beings. Because I'm like, you know, hey man, this might happen. There are horrifying moments in this, right? The hillbilly scene. There's a lot of that. But again, it's not degrading the story because it has to hit these like pre-prescribed beats.
And the intention is not to be sensational in those moments either, to ramp up the horror moments for the sake of it.
Heath just proved my point about the ending. Thank you, sir. That was beautifully said. Better than I said it. Matlocked. For those of you that remember Matlock. I remember my mom would always take us to the gym and tanning salons, and we'd have to sit in the lobby while she worked out or tanned, and we would just, Matlock was always on. It was either Matlock or Wings. Those were like the two shows we always saw. So yeah.
What's the one with Peter Falk? I was more of a
Columbo.
Columbo guy.
Oh, Columbo. I couldn't get enough. Anyways, neither here nor there. Anything else about this movie?
We needed to figure out what the most messed up moment was.
All right. What would you say was the most messed up moment in Cannibal Mukbang?
Easy for me.
Okay.
I thought the most messed up moment was in that flashback scene, the origin story, when the hillbilly takes away the sister. And I have to sit in that moment. I'm trying to I could probably write an essay about that little sequence, what worked so well for me. But it wasn't too long. It was just the right.
Just right.
It was
He
Mont.
walks in chewing on jerky that's probably
Every
the
shot
sister.
advances the story. It's stylistic. It's montagey. It's not too quick, and it makes you feel for the relationship of the two sisters.
Yeah.
And then that horror sets in.
We go back and watch this like birth of the monster we've been following through the movie.
And the moment that is the most messed up for me is when he sits down across from her at the table and puts that plate of meat down and pushes it over to her.
Yeah.
And you know that he is forcing her to eat her sister. How
not realizing that somehow human flesh is like spinach to Popeye to her.
Yeah.
And she's going to turn into a super soldier and beat his ass.
Yeah, it comes back to bite him, literally.
Many mistakes in that scene by our hillbilly brethren. I have to say, for me, the most messed up moment, and I don't even think this is close or up for debate, is at the end when the brother comes to date his girlfriend, right? Mm-hmm. So he's in a closet, presumably at best case scenario, he's going to watch his brother fucking bang his girlfriend. What really ends up happening is that his brother attacks violently the girl we've been following. And then the movie just lays out the case that he's been dismembering teenage girls. He's a sexual criminal and a necrophiliac. I was like, they're really just piling on so many messed up accoutrements in this moment that I don't even think that's the same. Oh. Like there's a lot of normal moments in movies that you're like, that's messed up.
You never see
this is fucking insane.
You never see him do anything.
But imagine you come in and your brother, your cousin, your best friend
is,
and they're just like
the worst Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh, you like this guy? He was about to beat me up, assault me, and he's been dismembering people, and he's a necrophiliac. And you're like,
it's a tough pill. Tough pill to swallow.
What? Like that's an insane just fucking grenade that the pin got pulled and lobbed into the end of this movie. Like that's by far the most messed up thing.
Fair enough. Okay.
I don't know. I could talk ad nauseum about things I loved about this movie. I am always inspired when we see low budget filmmaking this good. It's like one of those, it inspires you to like, God, we got to step our game up.
Yeah. I was interested in this movie from the jump, just from the title alone.
Yeah.
And I remember they put out a teaser that the festivals had that was at best a minute long. Mm. I think there was nothing in that teaser that I saw coming in this movie itself when I actually got a chance to watch it. So first of all, it totally exceeded my expectations. I mean, I was interested in the beginning.
Same.
And then it just over-delivered and just pressed all the right buttons for me. I'm just blown away by it.
Yeah. Incredible watch. Go find this movie. You can find it VOD. Go find it. If you can go online and buy a copy of this movie, that will help out more.
I believe it's actually, maybe it's for rental, but I got it on Amazon and they're doing a promotional $0 rental right now on Amazon Prime.
Okay. Well, hopefully the filmmakers still make fucking money off that.
Yeah.
Whatever evil Amazon's doing. Give money to this movie. Spend time with this movie and realize the level of independent horror filmmaking that is out there right now. That's what we're trying to do a lot on this New Movie Monday, is just preach how many good horror movies are coming out right now. And again, horror movie is not meant to be like what it is. It's so much more than that. It's a beautiful piece.
Messed up.
You should go support. Please go support us, Messed Up Movies Podcast, Patreon. We have a lot of awesome exclusive stuff over there. We're always trying to listen to our community to make that better and more worth your while. That's the best way to help us out here. Misfit Parade YouTube, subscribe there. MisfitParade.com, so you can follow the making of our movie, Mr. Cream Jeans Heidi Hole, which is not as insightful or interesting as this movie. But it will be a movie. Go find that.
Has plenty of sex.
It has tons. It's not sexy sex, but there is sex. It's in there. Please send the pod to your friends so we can help bring in more movie-loving brethren. We'll see you Wednesday in the Abyss.